Hey, what's up, guys? This is Adam DeAngeli from the Rescue Michigan Coalition, and I hope you guys are all having a great Memorial Day weekend. It is May 29th, and we've got lots of news to talk about, in particular, the Rescue Michigan election reform plan, which is going to have 7 bills being introduced in the House next week. We've got a special guest tonight, Representative Steve Carra, who is the sponsor of one of those bills, and also, incidentally, a witness to some of the incidents that happened in the election and a plaintiff in the litigation that occurred against the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. So we've got a lot to talk about. We've got some real interesting stuff. I'm going to give folks a couple minutes just to get online, make sure that they are available in the chat. And we are going to also, let me just hit the record button too, just to make sure that we're also recording the webcam, just in case something happens here. And also, I think we have Shane Trejo tonight, who unfortunately just had to reboot his computer. He was having some issues with his headset. So I tell you what, while we wait, we have Steve Carra standing by. He's going to talk about all of these issues on the election, also on his own campaign for the 6th Congressional District of Michigan. He is challenging Representative Fred Upton, who, as you might know, was one of the infamous Republicans that voted for Trump's latter impeachment. But we're going to be talking mostly, I think, tonight about the Secretary of State and Michigan's election policy. So I just wanted to play for you a video that someone made about a new issue regarding the Secretary of State. And of course, most people in Michigan associate the Secretary of State with being the place you go to register your car. And that's kind of fallen off the rails in the past year on account of the Corona-chan. And so the Secretary of State recently announced that her offices would be closed until further notice. So before we bring our guests on, I just wanted to play this video. This is a video that was made by one of our volunteers and our members in Oxford area. And they actually protested against the Secretary of State and her policies. And they're showing you just how bad the situation is, which incidentally, I've recently come to experience firsthand from a good friend of mine. He just went to buy a car the other day and discovered he wouldn't be able to get an appointment with the Secretary of State until September. And as it turns out, we actually have a clip of this that someone made. So let me restart the video and put it in the frame so that we can see it here. And here it goes. Check this out, guys. I'm going to pause it here just to say, if you guys can't see this, it's going to be in the YouTube video, so you can rewatch it at higher resolution. But they're trying to book an appointment, and as you'll see here, nothing is working properly. Also, there's a white rectangle to redact something as a personal article that the person didn't want seen. So anyway, we'll just go on with the video here. All right, so and by the way, Shane and Steve, if you guys couldn't hear the audio for that, it was just some funny music over the background here. But let's bring on our guest tonight. Let's go to Steve. And I don't know, did we lose Shane? Is he not here anymore? I saw him pop back in. I don't know if he was having an issue with his headset. I hope he didn't think it was because he couldn't hear the audio in that clip. I don't know, Steve. Do you? Excuse me, Representative. Were you able to hear the audio in that clip?
I hear the audio.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully Shane will be joining us back up again soon. And I apologize for calling you Steve, but you and I go way back, man. I remember we first met as when I was working on the Ron Paul campaign, and you were one of our people out in Portage as a county coordinator for Kalamazoo. But and then, of course, more recently, you and I worked together in the state house. But look at you now, man. You're a state representative, and man, have you gone in with a bang there with the lawsuit against the Secretary of State. So why don't you maybe tell the audience a little bit about how this all went down and how you ended up suing Jocelyn Benson for what she was doing, impeding our poll challengers there.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. That was all last year in October. Of course, you put me in front of this concept and concern of poll challengers, and so this lawsuit was regarding the Secretary of State trying to tell everybody that they had to maintain a 6 foot of social distancing as a poll challenger. So when you go to just verify that mistakes aren't being made, whether intentionally or unintentionally, because mistakes happen, that's why poll challengers need to be there to make sure that the election workers aren't making mistakes. And from 6 feet away, you can't read a poll book, you can't see a computer screen, you can't properly verify with that social distancing enforcement. So I filed the lawsuit, and on October 29th won that lawsuit, and that was last year, so right before the November 3rd election. But the problem was, largely throughout the state, in many circumstances, they didn't follow it. Even though they amended the advisory per the one lawsuit, they acted as if they could still do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, I'm not aware that they told anybody that, hey, by the way, we just completely reversed our policy here. I was a poll worker in the city of Detroit, and they certainly never told us that now, after having training us to impede poll challengers with social distancing rules, and then calling the police as a first resort against anybody that complained about it, they never seemed to act on that. And I salute you, by the way, because when we first discovered this, it was only a couple of weeks before the election. And I talked to some attorneys about this, and they said, yeah, if we need to file a suit, we got to file it like right this minute, like in the next day or two. That's how urgent this is, because if we don't file it right away, we're going to blow the deadline. And, you know, I called some other people who were working on campaigns, and they were equivocating and didn't know if they knew all this. And you didn't hesitate. You acted. You're like, yeah, let's do this. And that was so critical, because someone like me, I mean, I was a whistleblower to what we were being trained to do as a poll worker, but that doesn't give me standing. But you were a candidate, and you were the only candidate that was able to come forward and say, yeah, we need to address this policy right this minute. And we might not have been able to even do that had it not been for you getting involved and having done that.
Right. Well, I was happy to step up to the plate. I saw something that needed to be done. I was really appreciative that you brought that to my attention, and that we could step up for the people of Michigan. It's unfortunate still that they didn't follow on November 3rd, but still, moving forward, working with the Auditor General, trying to do further investigation to see where people didn't properly get this information out, if it happened at any point, and who should be held accountable. Because if this happened in one or two spots around the state where maybe one election worker didn't get the memo on the amended advisory, mistakes happen. But when poll challengers come forward and they have documentation that says, hey, there was an amended advisory here, and I've got this paper that says there's an amended advisory, and election officials say, oh, well, you can't just show me a Republican Party document and expect us to just listen to what the Republican Party's saying. Well, the Republican Party at TCF Center had people with papers in there saying, hey, this is the advisory changed. If they're trying to tell you to stay 6 feet away, that's not accurate. And that's what created a lot of the tension. I'm sure a lot of your listeners here have probably heard about the tension at the TCF Center. And there's
Oh,
different
yeah.
things certainly that caused it as well. But this was a key ingredient to the tension there at TCF Center, because they were violating the rights of poll challengers.
Yeah, and incredibly, it even seemed that the police themselves were in on it, which is incredible because the recourse for somebody, if they're being impeded, that's a crime. The answer is for them to be the ones to call the police. But what we saw that what they were actually doing was the police were basically apparently trained to